200 years ago, rich countries were only 3 times richer than poor countries. Today, they're about 80 times richer. Large corporations are taking more than $900 billion out of poor countries each year through a form of tax avoidance called trade mispricing. Each year, poor countries are paying about $600 billion in debt service to rich countries. Then there's the money that poor countries lose from trade rules imposed by rich countries to get access to more resources and cheaper labor.
I am not familiar with how the dollar amounts in this video were calculated by the author, but the main point of the video is that poor countries are poor because their resources are exploited in one way or another by rich nations. I have several problems with this view. First, the video focuses on inequality in wealth between nations, but does not acknowledge inequality in productivity. Rich nations are not rich because they stole 35 to 80 times more wealth than poorer nations. They are rich because they are at least 35 to 80 times more productive. Thomas Sowell writes that videos like this, which highlight disproportionate rewards in wealth, seldom lead to questions as to whether what is produced by those who receive these rewards differs correspondingly. Peter Bauer states that even though rich nations consume more, the higher level of consumption in the West is not achieved by depriving others of what they have produced. Western consumption is more than paid for by Western production. To improve the conditions of poorer nations, the conversation should be shifted to how to incentivize greater productivity. Second, although there is more inequality between nations today, poor nations are far better off now than they were 200 years ago. It seems unlikely that poor nations can rapidly develop while rich nations at the same time are taking their wealth and giving nothing in return. Bauer points out that a country like Malaysia at the end of the 19th century was a sparsely populated country of Malay hamlets and fishing villages, but has been completely transformed into a country with populous cities, thriving commerce, and an excellent system of roads. Third, Douglas Irwin argues that more often than not, poverty in the poorest nations is the result of bad government policies that are antagonistic toward trade and private property rights. Irwin recommends that if a nation wants to become more wealthy, the government should not arbitrarily confiscate goods or property, should not protect monopolies and create obstacles to new business formation, should not scare off foreign investors with uncertainty about future taxes or possible expropriations, and so forth. The false notion that developed nations are rich only because they made someone else comparably poorer has had severe consequences. Sowell writes that in the last century, fears of foreign exploitation led many poor nations to isolate themselves from foreign investment and trade. He states that, tragically, it is in precisely those less developed countries where little or no foreign investment has taken place that poverty is at its worst.